Welcome to the second season of the Deployment Dojo. This is episode 5 of our live show where we introduce and discuss software installation topics so that you can become a better setup ninja. I'm your host, Rod Menching, and joining me once again is my very good friend and still first student of the dojo, David Edson. David, how you doing, my man?
Pretty good. How are you?
It's good. Kids are back in school and all is quiet in the house. So we should get to this, huh? Ready?
Let's do it.
All right. We've been doing lots of basics. We did properties, we did items, we did targets, and we did imports. And with those sorts of things, you should be able to kind of read any project files out there and get a general gist of what's going on. That feels about right, David?
Yes.
And we talked about a couple of conventions about putting your props file that has only properties, even though it can have more than that in it, at the top. And you can have your targets file at the bottom and how you can override and all the order of operations of properties first, items second, then targets and their execution in order, all that sort of thing, right?
Right.
All right. I've just summed up the whole first 4 episodes without all the cool, cool little details and things that we dug into. Today, I want to go to not advanced, but we're going to go to one step farther into intermediate and get into a few things that if you get into more advanced project files, you'd be like, what is this syntax? I've never seen that. That's what I want to get into today. All right, David?
Okay.
All right,
Sounds
here we
good.
go. Let's jump right into it. We're talking about items. We've not talked about items a whole lot, so let me get my project file up and we're going to put an item in it. We've done a lot more with properties because they're a lot simpler, right? They're just a value. And I made a comment how items are kind of like collections, or then I said they're kind of like objects, and both of those things are correct. So today we're going to be talking about items a lot. So I'm not even going to have a property in here. I'm just going to have this item group in here, and we'll call it item A. Usually the item is B, right, David? Because we always did it second.
Right.
Right? So does not exist.txt, because quite often items get their names because usually they're files on disk. But as we're going to see today, that's absolutely not necessary. It's just common. All right. And let's go with our target name. Target, what do we do? Target 1, right? We number the targets. We letter the items. All right. Cool.
Yep.
And then we do our message. We'll do importance equals high, so it shows up in our screen a little better. And we'll say the text equals our general printf of item A equals, and always an @ sign because we're doing items, item A. Right?
Okay. Yep.
About as basic as it gets. We have an item A declared in the global scope. We're not worried about any properties right now. And we have a target called target 1 that we're going to run to print out our item A. Great?
Yep.
All right, cool. And chat, it's great to see all of you guys. I know I've kind of been skipping around the schedule, so it's great to see Bert and Martin and Eugene and Zach. Man, we're building up a little crew here. This is great. I love seeing you guys here. Okay, build, MSBuild. To build in episode 5 directory our dojo.proj, it'll run the default target, which is the only one we have. Target 1, we run it, and it prints out item A equals the does not exist.txt. Okay? Right? Cool. Now, I'm going to create a couple files real quick. A.text. I'm going to create another one called B.text. I'm going to create another one called, can you guess? C.text. All right. I don't even care what's in them. They're going to be empty. All right. So this says does not exist. I want a few more items in the mix here. So I'm also going to bring in star.txt. Okay. If we remember, this syntax here allows us to suck up all our files and include them as items in a shortcut syntax, right? So we don't have to list each one of them as we go.
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to do another build. And do you remember how it gets printed out in the end?
No, I don't.
Semicolon delimited list in the order that they were globbed together. All right.
Okay.
So does not exist, and then it found A, B, and C. So it brought those all up, and boom, you now have all your files. All right. Cool. Nothing particularly surprising. And This is why I said items are a lot like collections, in that this one name can end up having many items, which is why they use the word include here. All right.
Okay.
All right, you're right. Yeah, okay. No big deal. That's fine. I'm good with that. They're not just collections, though. they're also objects, which means they have more than just their name, this right here. They have more properties on them that we can do, and we can define custom properties. All right, so you're ready for some custom properties?
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
So I'm going to add a custom property to these guys, and there are two syntax that you can use. One is this is the old way. This is the way that I learned it a long time ago, and oh my gosh, is it so verbose. We're going to add another property. No, can't use that word, not property. We're going to add another metadata, data on the data, metadata. That's what it's
attribute?
called. Yeah, you could call them attributes, but they're actually called metadata for, because it's data on data. And I can call this meta x. Okay, the name matters here. You notice the syntax looks a lot like properties, the way you define properties, but notice it's inside this item. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm just going to go, we'll put foo in here. Okay. So I have added this metadata foo onto item A. And I'm going to do the same thing here. This is the more modern syntax. This is in like MSBuild 15. All the MSBuilds that are in support now, all support this. And this one I find much easier to read. Okay. So I want to get my cursor out of the way. So here you can see this says meta x put foo on the item that does not exist. Okay. And this says put this meta x metadata on all of these items that came in through this star.txt.
Okay.
What is this for? Well, we'll dig into why you might want to do that. Let's just kind of get through the mechanics of doing so. Okay.
Sure.
Cool. Run it. What do you think it's going to print when I run it?
I am not sure.
The exact same thing, because metadata is not displayed as the values of the items by default.
Okay.
Okay. So you're like, oh, great. So how do we display the metadata? Well, because MSBuild had already bought themselves in to using these little symbols. You remember $sign is how we refer to a property, and @ is how we say, give me all the items in this out of this collection, semicolon limit, as we have here. The way you get to metadata is you put a %. Why? Well, we're running out of characters, so we got to pick something, right? And then you just say, hey, here's the metadata that I want to print out about this item A. So here's item A, meta X. Okay?
Okay.
So what happens when we print that out? You want to guess what it prints?
I should stick that at the end of it.
We're going to get item X does not exist, foo, and bar. It gives us all of the metas that are out there on the items.
Okay.
All right. So it shows you it split them across and said, here are the metas that I found on those items. Cool.
Okay.
It's
cool.
kind of interesting. All right. So now let me see. How do I want to get this part? We can, now that we have metadata on them, I don't want to go too far down this route because it could get confusing without breaking out the next thing. Let's look at the, let's change this back. Let's change this metadata here to foo. Okay. So now we're going to put the meta foo on all the items everywhere. Okay. So then when we run this and we spit it out, now we only have one value, right? Because we only had one meta on all of the items.
Okay.
All right. Okay, great. Let me see. I got myself stuck here in a more advanced topic than I expected by having these separate values. Let me add more. No, I need to go into the, all right, we're going to expand. Okay. Item A dot identity. All right, I'm going to have to break out the standard. Identity should give us the original thing that's in the include. Does that make sense? The original name of the item. So in this case, this does not exist. And they have a.text, b.text, and c.text. Okay. So I'm going to have
Okay.
it print out both the item's identity and the item meta x. And you see now it's put it all together. It goes does not exist with its foo, a.text with bar, b.text with bar, c.text with bar. Did you see how it figured out, oh, I found all of the various pieces of metadata, and then it did the cross product or all the combinations of those and printed them all out for me.
Right. Okay.
All right. So what this allowed me to do is say, all right, cool. I can now identify these items with additional attributes on them or metadata, right? I can put additional data on them, being very redundant. Let me show you a whole bunch of them. Identity is one of the ones that is built in. That's the way you get back to whatever is inside this include or whatever this include expanded to. Okay. All right. So let's bring up the list. There is fortunately documentation on the well-known item metadata. And we're going to see there's a bunch of different pieces of metadata that we have built that MSBuild puts on items as soon as it creates them. Notice how many of them are related to files. Full path, the root directory, the file name, the extension, the relative directory, the directory, the recursive dir, which we'll dig into. There's the identity we were just looking at, right? Modified time, created time, access timed, and then some fun things around which project they're in. Okay? We get all of these for free for things that are files, all right?
Okay.
All right, so let's play with them a little bit, okay? Let's, instead of using meta x, let's go ahead and use our modified time. Modified time should be just 13 minutes after start of this, so that's 10:43. Actually, it's when I created these files. Let's run it.
And this is only for items, right? This really had nothing to do with the metadata at the moment.
This is metadata built on items. So by having an item, you get this metadata for free.
Okay, but it's part of an item, though. It's
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
By being an item, you have this. Properties have none of this. Properties are a single value. This is all about being an item. And this is why I want to drill home. Items are both objects and collections at the same time.
Okay.
They have both this metadata on them. You could think of like attributes or fields on an object. I don't want to say properties because that's another thing I must build, right? Attributes on an object, and they then are automatically collections. Okay, so I'm going to say, give me the modified time. So show me the identity and the modified time for these guys. All right. A.text has this time, B.text has this time, C.text this time. Does not exist, doesn't have a modified time. Why is that?
Because it doesn't exist.
It's not a file. It's not a file. And that's why I wanted to make it clear. Red. There, we have an item A, red. It's not a file, it's a color, right? We could do that. We'll clear and do it again. There, red. It mixed in with all these items. Don't do that generally because your items should be something that they should represent something in the system. But since we're just playing around with various names of things, you can do that. Make sense?
Yes.
All right.
Makes sense.
Cool. So this is metadata on items and then how you can get them to be printed out. So now let's change it. I want to go over the metadata and let's then go and look at extension. All right. So let's do the items by extension. Okay. Nope. I'm going to take.
All right.
Let's stop printing that one out and we'll only do just this guy. All right. The item metadata. Clear screen run. So we are going to print out the identity of them and their extension. Okay, so notice red has no extension, so it's blank. Does not exist, space, its extension. All these guys, space and extension. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so I'm in the D::Dojo S2E5. Instead of extension, let's look at their whole full path. And I'm going to take identity out now because we're going to get the full path for the files. D::Dojo E5 red. Doesn't exist, but you still get a path for it. That's where it would be if it was there. See how much MSBuild thinks of items as files for you?
Right.
Okay, and it does the same thing for does not exist A, B, and C.text. So that ends up being really helpful to sometimes you're like, hey, give me this file. If it does not exist, well, we could put it in a condition then, for example, and say, hey, if this file doesn't exist, being able to treat items like files is just built in the into MSBuild, even in our case, if it doesn't make sense, where red is just a color, but we tossed it in and treat it like a file. All right?
Okay.
All right, cool. So let's go back and let's just go back to extension now. So I'm now going to say, just show me all the extensions. Print all the metadata on this whole collection and show me all the extensions. You want to guess how many item meta lines I'm going to get printed out?
3, but maybe 4. I don't know.
I think we should get 2. One for blank, because red has no extension, and one for txt, because all of our other files have txt on them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
See what it's doing?
Yeah.
It's taking a slice of our data and then showing us a separate grouping for each one as grouped by their metadata. Is that hopefully starting to make sense?
Yes.
All right, so here, root dir. All of these are on the D drive on my computer. We'll run this. How many lines of these are we going to get printed out?
So, the 1?
1, just D.
Yeah.
Because they're all on the D drive. You know, red's not a file, but again, MSBuild is going to treat it like a file, so you get one root directory.
Sure.
All right, cool. I want to play with one of these down here because I've not tried them before. Defining project full path. I've never used this one before, but this is kind of cool. I think this says this is the metadata on the item, and let's go ahead and bring our all right. So the unique project file that define this item. Does that make sense? The project that contains this item.
Right.
We should get 1 because all of our items are in one project. Yeah, look, and we get our project file. Cool.
Cool.
All right, so let's then go item a dot identity. So if you start getting confused and you're like, wait, that list that I got was just 1 and I expected 5 or 2 or something else, you're not getting what you want, add the identity back into the mix so that it will print out each item's, a separate line for each item, because the identity should be unique for each item that comes up. Right? That makes sense? So we're going to get each of them's metadata displayed for us, for identity and then the defining project. So there's red, came from that project. Does not exist, came from the same project. A.text came from the same project, so on and so forth. Right? So if you ever get stuck and you're like, wait, I expected to get more metadata listed for my whole list. What happened? Put the item.identity value in there, and then that will make sure that it explodes out your entire list. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. That's a really helpful trick when you're trying to figure out why is my metadata not the set that I thought it would be? Because it's the unique set across all your items, and then maybe you've kind of got lost of which one was which. All right. That was fun. I always do that. So then, we have project name. So we could change this to project name. This should give us just Dojo. We go ahead and run this. Yeah, so red Dojo, red Dojo, red Dojo. Okay. I've never used this metadata on a project, but partly because I don't think I knew it was there. And it's now got me thinking, hey, this would be kind of a cool thing to maybe be able to use somewhere. Okay.
All right.
All right. I want to show you one more that's really, really useful, especially when you're doing lots and lots of files. So I'm going to create another folder here. We'll call it sub for subfolder. And then inside that folder, I'm going to put x.text, and then I'm going to put y.text, and I'm going to put z.text in here. Okay, so in the subfolder, I have x.text, y.text, and z.text, and
sure.
a.text. So when I run this, let's get this back to just identity is good. Let's just run it with identity. Oh, I need a quote. All right. So we're going to run our amenity. We're going to run our list. This is essentially going to show us the items, right? Actually,
right.
This here is the same as that syntax there. Right?
Okay, yeah.
Except this is going to put them 1 per line. This is going to put them all together on 1 line. Group them together. Right? So let's go ahead and run it again. So we have red does not exist, a.text, b.text, c.text, metadata, red does not exist, a.text, b.text, c.text. Wait, what gives? We have x.text, y.text, and z.text. Where are they? They're missing. Like, why didn't we get them? Right? What gives? Well, it's this syntax here, looks in the directory relative to the project. Okay, so if we want to add the guys in sub, we'd have to do this. Sub x.text. All right, and we'll give them it doesn't matter. Just for fun. Now when I run this, look, I've got my sub texts and everything like that. All right.
Okay.
But then let's say, hey, the user's defining where all these, text files are living relative to the project. I don't want to have to know the exact name of the folder. How do I get all folders? I want star. Well, you can do that. Star essentially says, give me all files underneath this directory and in this directory and everything below it. Okay.
Okay.
Which also means that these guys are going to get caught up again. So I'm going to take that one out and leave only. This back to bar. Okay, so we could do that too. Let's just do this one. Star means everything in this directory and everything below it. Okay.
All right.
So when I run it again, I got the same thing with that star syntax. I got a text, b text, a, b, c, and all the sub guys all with one line. Plus the two guys that don't exist, red and does not exist, because I explicitly labeled them. All right.
All right.
And if we then do this include, where we keep this text and do the subdirectory, you want to guess what this gives us?
I'm not sure. I was kind of wondering that.
Yeah, you're like, what is that going to give us? Let's go ahead and run it. The same thing.
Okay.
So it figures out that, hey, these are the same. Go ahead and put them in there. All right. So we're able to print these guys all out with their identity, and we can see they're all in this nice collection here. Cool. Now, you're like, great, but I want the path. What if I want to be able to refer to the path where these files live? Well, we have metadata for that called recursive dir. So I'm going to say, I'm going to take these guys out again. I'm going to say, now we'll keep them here. All right, we'll show all the items, and then we're going to show all the unique recursive directories.
Okay.
There are two.
The two, yep.
Blank, the ones that are in the root with the project, and then the sub directory. Notice it has a backslash on the end. That's really nice. That's the same thing Windows Installer does, by the way, for its folders. They automatically come with a backslash on them. It's helpful to know that. The documentation in MSBuild is pretty good about telling you when there is a backslash added. And it's almost always a backslash, but not always. So that's a little annoying in MSBuild. It's almost consistent, but not perfectly. All right. So this ends up being a nice way to say, hey, give me the star part of this is the way that I think about it. So we can say this item a.identity, and then we will see the recursive part for each item in our list. A.text, b.text, c.text, sub x.text is in the subdirectory, y.text in sub, and z is in the subdirectory. Okay?
All right.
This is all kind of like, hopefully you're kind of like going, yep, all right, this is starting to stick. I see why by adding identity, all of my items showed up again, and these guys have no directory, so they live there, and then these guys are specified there. All right.
With that syntax there, does it grab any below sub 2? So if you had
Sure, let's do it.
So you had like
folder,
sub 2.
Sub 2, and let's go ahead and move z.text into sub 2.
Okay.
So we have sub 2, z.text. Hopefully that shows up. X and Y are still in sub, and Z is now inside sub 2.
Okay. And so it should be the same as the last one if it picks it up. Okay.
Yes, except that sub 2 now is the recursive directory for that.
Gotcha.
And notice it went directories first instead of before files. I don't know if there's any documentation that says what order MSBuild is going to put these in. Generally, you shouldn't expect items in an order. I try not to do that where you expect items. It's a collection. It's not an ordered list sort of thing. That makes sense. It's kind of it's a bag of stuff. Is the way I generally think about them.
Sure.
All right. So that works. What was I going to do? Let's also then, this is the one I wasn't sure. You want to take a guess as to what happens if we explicitly call out y.text. Okay, so we're going to explicitly refer to y.text, and that the file will still be here because we're adding it, and that'll be good. But what will its recursive directory be?
It should still just be sub, I think.
Nothing, because it has no star in it.
Okay.
Okay, now let's do this. And I said you should not count on order. Here I'm putting sub after the star. Now when we run it, oh, it's duplicated. Ah, okay. I knew there was a way to duplicate. It's duplicated this way. Wait, was it duplicated before and I wasn't paying attention?
No, I don't think so, but
all right, now
check it out.
I didn't fake myself out, did I? I did. I faked myself out. It's still there. It's duplicated because the metadata is different. I'm glad we did this one. I knew there was a thing I was trying to catch. It's duplicated because the metadata is different.
So if you put meta x bar in there, then it wouldn't duplicate it.
I don't know. Let's try. I also think the recursive dir is different, so it might still not work, but let's try. Let's see if we can fake it out and get them to be the same. But this is a thing that will catch you, and I always forget about it because I really try to avoid this problem. But when the metadata is different, you will get different values. See, it's still here. Okay. So I don't know. I've never tried to do this. What if we try to add recursive dir, which is a built-in property, or built-in metadata to it? Recursive dir. Did I get that wrong? Okay, let's see what happens if what I get here. Recursive dir, an element is unrecognized. I don't think that's the correct way to say that. I think that's a very bad error message. Recursive dir is unrecognized. It's built in. It doesn't want me setting the built-in value, right? So if I set recursive dir x and then we run again, now it's happy with me. So that is a very strange MSBuild error message for that. I tried to add recursive dir to make this sub y be the same as that sub y, and it's not letting me do it because, well, that's a built-in item metadata. Does that make that? I mean, that makes sense. If this is a well-known item metadata, I would have been like, oh yeah, okay, I can't set that. But is unrecognized is a strange error message for that. So, all right, through that experiment, what did we find? We found that sub y.text ends up duplicated because the metadata is different. And that's why I try never to do this sort of star and mix with all of the other parts together.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to take the sub y out, and now we're going to have star.text for A, B, and C to make the meta foo. Then we're going to do star.text and add the metadata bar. So that should then find A, B, and C again and add metadata to them, right? So we should get the A, B, and C duplicated?
It should, yeah.
Did we? We did not.
No.
It did not override the metadata there. Okay. This is one of those edge cases that, like I said, I try to avoid getting into these, doing the same search paths on top of each other for items. Just avoid it because the behavior doesn't end up being always intuitive or what you want. And it can just get you weird things that when you finally figure it out, you're like, oh, I forgot about that whole metadata thing. Like here, at a certain level, you would expect A and B to be, A, B, and C to be there twice, but they're both in there once. And actually, let's look at their meta X real quick. We aren't looking at their meta X. Let's see. For each item, we're going to print out their meta X here now. Red doesn't have it. They are in there twice. They have both pieces of metadata on them. We just have to slice them out with the different pieces of metadata. They are in there.
Okay.
So they were getting collapsed before when we don't have. All right, let me show. We're just going to do identity now. All right. Let me get this extra line here. So we're going to print out all the files.
Yeah.
And it's going to run. And because identity is metadata, it goes through and finds us all of the unique metadata. That commutation, all the unique ones. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So these guys are all the same. But then if we add and say, hey, are they all same? Show me all of the metadata for all of them. So we're going to say go show me everything, the meta X on every item. it's going to go and say, oh, okay, I found an a.text with foo, and I found an a.text with bar. And a b.text with bar to c.text with bar. Because I got A, B, C both through this collection, which added meta.x bar, and this collection here at added meta.text foo, and it ended up giving me the ability to find both of those items separately in separate queries, essentially, if you want to look at it that way.
Okay, right.
This is similar to what we did in the beginning. If I take identity out, we're going to get 3 meta-x's. No, 2 meta-x's? 2 meta-x's. 3, because red doesn't have one. Right. Red doesn't have one, so we get blank, and then we have foo in use, and we have bar in use. So then you add the identity back again, run it again, and now you have blank for this guy, and then foo and bar. Add both lines foo. All right, so Eugene wants me to make this foo, and what do we get here? Okay, that's a great idea. So we're going to make all of these guys foo. When we run this again, do a clear screen. Now we have a.text, b.text, c.text with just foo, because they only have that one metadata on them, or that metadata value only has one value, so there's only one set of them.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
All right, I'm going to do one more thing to hopefully drive this kind of home. I'm going to put an a.text in here. Okay. Back to Dojo Proj. Okay, we're going to run this again. All right, so we get an a.text in foo under sub, and we have an a.text in the root. That makes sense, I hope.
Yes.
All right, now I'm going to change this to file name. File name is one of the built-in metadatas, contains just the file name of the extension. Okay, so when I do a clear screen and build, we're going to see A, B, C, Z, X, Y. Notice there's only one A. There are 2 items in there, but when we group them like this, we only get the one back out. Does that make sense? Or only one shows up. That one file name shows up. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go ahead and put the file name, and let's do this thing. You'll see this sometimes. Item a.extension. So spell it correctly. So there. Now I have the item name, the file name, and the extension. Notice I don't put any spaces between them. So when we run this again, hey, it looks like they're file names. Right? Cool.
Right.
Very, very good trick. And you're like, oh, but these guys aren't actually in the root directory. They're in their recursive directory. So let's go ahead and add item a.recursive dir here. Notice no space again. Okay.
Yes.
And we run it again.
It's not going to make that.
And now there's a.text, b.text does not exist. And look, our a.text pops back out again. The one in sub 2 shows up again because now we put the recursive directory. And we have put these guys back together in a way that looks a lot the same as their item a.identity. Yep, see?
Yep.
Okay. We're kind of going through all these bits and pieces. Like that's what I want to do in the Dojo show. It's like, yeah, you could read this and you could be like, yes, okay. But in the Dojo, we try to take the things apart, throw them back together without always knowing why we're doing it, mostly just to kind of hack it and break it down so that we could go, okay, in the future, when we see strange and unusual rules, we will have gone through enough of these kind of patterns where you can come back and watch the show again and be like, oh yeah, those are really strange tricks and weird things. How can I go and work it out? Again, the trick here is always, if you're getting lost, go ahead and add the identity on there so you get each item being printed out. All right?
Yep.
Okay, so cool things that we can do with metadata. Now you're thinking, why would you want to do all this? Well, besides the recursive directory, which is very useful, so you can say, hey, give me just the recursive directories, you're going to find the things that we can do in the future where we could take groups of these and we can operate on them independently so that we can say, hey, take all these and do this, take all these and do this, then take all these and do this. We might be talking about that next episode. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about one more not crazy thing, one more little facet of this particular item metadata description. Ready, Dave?
All right, ready.
All right. Okay, so I've been running around adding meta X all over the place, and I made a mistake and I forgot to add it to red. Maybe red should have had it, and you're like, oh, this is such a pain. I just want all of my items to have metadata on them that is set this where I'm at right now. Okay. So rather than going through and marking and adding all of your items and doing all that kind of stuff, you can call what's called you can create what is called an item definition group. Definition group. Okay. So this is an item group. What we're going to define here is an item definition. You only do this, as far as I know, I don't know if there's any other, you do this to add metadata. I don't know if you do it for any other reason. I can't think of any other reason why you'd want to do it. So what do? Well, you define an item type, an item name, and we'll do the shortcut syntax. And then you put metadata on it that you want to apply to all items of that type, that name, whatever that is. So we could pull meta X here, and we're going to do this global. I'm going to set it everywhere, and then I'm going to get rid of this foo. I'm tired of doing foo everywhere. I just want it everywhere. All right, we can keep that one long syntax. Item A. Okay, all that's the same. So what I just did was said, all right, here are all my items. Same as we had before, with our A.text both in the root and in a sub, Z, X, Y, B, and C, all that kind of good stuff. All right?
Right.
And then I said, and for everything that is an item A, add this metadata to it. Everywhere across the board. So hopefully when I run item a.identity and I do item a.meta x, I get a value, one value. Global. That was a very fast way. We now only show only the meta x out there. They all have global. There's no empties. There's no extras. They're all global because they're an item A. Cool.
Okay, cool.
Okay, now we haven't had multiple items, but let's go ahead and show that it works for multiple items. Item B. And I'm going to take our star, all of our massive search, and I'm going to move them out of item A group and into item B group. They are no longer matching this item definition. So when I run this, hopefully I get a list of the ones that were listed here as item A's are all get the global metadata on them. And notice my B's do not get the global on them. And now my A.text is duplicated, B.text, C.text are duplicated because of our star. Does that make sense? Hopefully that kind of brings it all back to the beginning. You're like, oh yeah, that's where it is. And if I want to have something on item B for some reason, other. Boom. I changed them all to other. I bring up item definitions at the end because they're fairly rare. I have used them once, and they were a lifesaver. There's one in the Wix targets that made true magic. It made a whole bunch of stuff just work. Massively complicated things suddenly got very easy when I figured out I could do this. So don't use it very often. In 20 years, or maybe not 20 years, 15 plus years, I've used it once to effect. And every other time I tried to use it, it was usually too broad a brush, and it would touch things that I didn't want to touch. But it's good to know it's there so that you can add metadata to items if you need to.
Makes sense.
All right, Dave. Sparring. Questions, things, stuff you want to discuss. How was that? A little bit crazy, a little bit off the beaten path, a little bit not exactly clear. Why would I want to add additional data to an item? Right? And we'll break it down. We'll get into more advanced. The next topic we get into, probably next topic, we'll break down how this can be a tool we use when doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, but I mean, that's most of my questions. Like, okay, what?
Yeah,
this is kind of abstract for the moment.
Exactly. You're like, why? Well, it's the same as properties. Like, well, what are you going to do with property? Well, you can do anything with a property. Oh, okay. Sure. Well, how do we use it? Well, we're getting to the point where when we have the basics sorted out, that we will be able to build more interesting systems from here. So, like I said, this is kind of an intermediate concept. It is not a beginner concept. But if you see this percent syntax, which you will see out there, you now know that that's pulling the metadata off of an item. Okay. And
Gotcha.
and I want to be very clear. Sorry, Eugene just asked a question. Prop C, prop A does not equal prop B, prop C. Do you want me to try to do that, Eugene? Go ahead, and if you want me to try to do that, we could go jump in now if you want in sparring. I'm happy to go drop back to something we did before if that's what you want to see. But where was I going with metadata? This is an intermediate concept. There are this syntax I showed you here with the percent and the thing all the time. This works well. This is the clearest and always works syntax there, but I think it's a more modern MSBuild syntax. Older MSBuilds didn't allow this percent syntax exactly like this. And when we get into the batching that I'm talking about, we'll talk about that syntax, but I didn't want to gum up this discussion because that syntax gets really weird if you don't understand the metadata. So I want to make sure that we had just one on clean understanding of metadata, get all the stuff out, and then we'll look at how more of those syntaxes and where that percent sign shows up more often. It gets more complicated than that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. This is the cleanest I can make it. All right. And Eugene's here, and I want to make it very clear that if you're here, I'm looking at my buttons to figure out which one to push. This is a live show, so if you want to drop something in, we can go ahead and try to drop something in. All right. So Eugene has brought up the question. Can I copy it out of here? Does it let me copy? It does let me copy. Okay, we're going to do a property thing because we didn't talk about properties. I think properties maybe are feeling a little left out. So let's go ahead and add a property group. And we're going to go look at a very simple property group. All right. And Eugene wants to say, what do we get in this sort of situation where we have prop C, the value of prop A does not equal prop B, and then what wants is on a condition prop C. Ooh, all right, I could type. All right. Now remember, I'm not a big fan of this because this is one of those naked properties, and we saw how if it does not evaluate to a Boolean, which could be on or off, we'll do all of these. I'm not thrilled, so we're going to make them all Booleans here. Okay. Oh, I don't want that. I want that. Okay. So that's prop A, Rob. Okay. And then prop B. All right. So we're going to define prop A, prop B. Does not equal false, true. What do you want to do? So prop C does not equal prop A. So this would be false right now. So prop C would not happen. So let's make them different. And let's just see what happens because the truth is off the top of my head, I don't know. We're going to basically create a condition from a property that is then contains a condition syntax in it with these two properties.
So it should be good at this point.
Right.
Now.
So true, false, prop A does not equal prop B. So true does not equal false. Therefore, prop C should be true. And let's see what happens. Okay.
Yep.
If this works, then we will get our things. Yeah. So specify condition evaluates to true does not equal false instead of a Boolean. It evaluated to the result of the expansions of prop A and prop B. So that did not work because it's not a condition. So we're going to try to do it this way, where we're going to turn them back into strings, which MSBuild does a better job of comparing. And let's see if this works. So all I did was I quoted the two properties inside the prop C condition, trying to get MSBuild to evaluate it as a condition. I don't know that we're going to get anything different. No, we didn't. All right, that didn't give us anything different. So I could try to quote this, but I'm pretty sure that's not going to make a difference. That's just going to give us like crazy syntax. Look at that. So it's quoted prop C evaluated to true and false. Notice it did ditch the quotes that I just added. So that didn't work. So let's try numbers. 1 does not equal 0. All right. Yeah. So none of this is working. So this is not evaluating to. It is not evaluating prop C. It is not evaluating the value of prop C. It is taking the value of prop C and just comparing it. So if you want this to be true, we would be able to say is equivalent to this is tricky. I'm going to get rid of the quotes here because I don't want to do the quotes inside the quotes. And then I'm going to go this. All right, so now I'm basically saying prop C is equal to the string 1 does not equal 0. Does that make sense?
Okay.
That is not, and it was false. What did I do wrong? 1 does not equal 0. Prop C. Shoot. Now I've lost. Okay. How do we solve these sort of problems? The things I go through for you guys. I tell you what, just text equals. Wait, it didn't do. Oh no, it skipped it. Right, it skipped it. It skipped it. Prop C should evaluate to. Oh, there's a space. Oh my goodness, how evil is that? Because I put spaces here, because I copied it straight from Eugene. Now it matches. Oh my goodness. Don't do this.
Right.
It doesn't work. It is not evaluating. It is not evaluating the result of this. It is taking the value of it. And then I had to match that value exactly, even with the spaces that were here and here, with the 1 being replaced here and the 0 being replaced here. Now, notice the properties did replace inside other properties. That totally works as long as they're in the right order, right? If we put prop B here, prop C will get defined first. And we run this again. They do not match because this evaluated to blank. Yeah. And now it matches again because that evaluated blank. Okay. But you can totally do that. But don't do this. All right. All right. That was fun. There you go. That's what you get when you show up live. You can come out and hang out and ask crazy questions, and I will try them. And I'll even try to guess to do what they do. But don't do what we just did. All right. That's item metadata. That's awesome stuff. We will build on item metadata next month. We're back on a regular schedule, so we'll be back in a month. The first Wednesday of October, David?
I know. It sounds weird.
That'll be episode 6. We will be doing this again, and we will be breaking out. Hopefully, I could try to find some examples that start making it like, oh, I can start seeing how I might want to add metadata. All right.
Okay.
All right. It's great having all you here. This has been fun. We're back on our regular schedule. I will have those other videos for those of you that weren't with us right here, right now. You're watching those videos when they came out. And like Eugene said, next time, October 1st. Later, people. Bye.